Ben Moore, the Active Beer Geek. Finally, we get our interview together.
Excellent.
And I think what we were trying to do is talk a little bit about the history of Sebago and about, where we've come from in the past 14 years. To me, it's a great story about Sebago. I learned how to brew at the Oasis Brewery in Colorado in '92. I was first putting labels on the 22-ounce bottle, and then in the cellar. I was 20 years old, and then moved up into the brew house and learned from the bottom up. And my teacher was Bill Sherwood, who is now the maintenance director at Stone. And there was a couple of us that were working in the brewery, but that was in Boulder, Colorado in '92. I mean, it was a different scene. It was the early stages of craft beer, and finally, it kind of moved east from there. I had a bout with Hodgkin's while I was in Colorado, and it kind of jolted me. I was 21, had a cancer, had my treatment out there, and I moved back home to kind of figure out where I was going to be for the rest of my life. But I knew it definitely had to do with brewing beer. When I was at the Oasis, we brewed with Grease malts, Chico, and Northwest hops, and that was kind of where I learned, and definitely Conicals. I moved back home and became the head brewer at Sebago Brewing Company in Camden, their first location, and that was September of '93. That summer, between those two jobs, I did work at Gary's on the bottling line, and that was a totally different scene than what I was used to at the small pub in Boulder. And Gary's was a happening plant. It was one of the early craft brewers. I was quite young and I had some experience, but they already had their sort of crew. So I became the head brewer at Sea Dog in Camden and worked with some great guys up there. But I really learned about Alan Pugsley's sort of system of the way that they do things with the small single-step infusion mash. The wood, the slats that were awesome. And you see it at Gary's, you see it at Gritty's, and all over where Alan had installed those systems. Learned a lot about beer and about the English style as opposed to what we were doing in Colorado at the time with the Chico and the Grease malt. So it was really interesting to learn about beer and how the differences were. I also learned about how great spray balls were as opposed to inside of the open fermenters and sort of a different way of cleaning and CIP in tanks, and that was a real big learning experience. So after working at Sea Dog for several years, Tom, our current brewmaster here at Sebago, I hired him. He was literally right out of UVM. That was in '94, and Tom was an excellent brewer, attention to detail, home brewer that we really hit it off. Music, similar in age, and that later that year, about February '94, I left Sea Dog with my anticipation to open Sebago Brewing Company. But I needed a little edge on the restaurant work, so I went and worked at Chili's at the main mall, and it was awesome. It was 25. My goal was to open up a brew pub, but I really wanted to learn about restaurant business, and Chili's is a great place to do that. So I definitely was a yes man, bartender, I was a host, I worked in the kitchen as much as I could, and that's where I met my two partners, Brad and Tim. Great guys, we worked hard together. There was the ice storm that happened, and our general manager at the time kept Chili's open because we had power, and it wiped out power throughout Portland, all around. But Chili's was open, but we got bottled water, and we really cranked, and it really showed how hard we worked together, and that when you have three people working in hospitality, you really get to know somebody, and their strengths, their weaknesses, what their personality is, and you find out who you want to be in the boat with you. And Brad and Tim and I work well in the boat together. We like to have fun. We really care about people in our business. We care about the beers that we make. We care about the food that we sell. And that's why our kind of mantra is great people, great beer, and great food.
It's a good mantra.
It is, and it really, when we opened our brew pub, we moved in 2009, we put this huge sign up that said, great people, great beer, great food. And it was pretty much to say, we're just moving our location, but this is, again, the offering that we always have offered. My end of the business has always been the beer. Focus on education, training, and growing the distribution off-premise. So when we first started at the mall, I'd be self-distributing in the back of the truck. Not very similar to what Oxbow and Mining Beer and Rising Tide, how all those guys started. And it's a great way to really learn your customers. And people still talk to you about, oh, I remember you hauling those kegs in, but it was the same sort of scenario. And literally, the Grey Lost Bear took the first kegs, and we grew a small distribution network in Portland. And as we grew to multiple brew pubs, my time was totally taken up in that. So I had John Clegg, who's one of our brewers now. He was brewing in South Portland. Tom was brewing in Portland, and we had sort of a distribution in the dorm brew pub. In 2004, we bought this brewery from the defunct Rocky River Brewing Company, and we got a beautiful used brewery, which right now there's nothing used in the market at all. So I can sympathize with all the new brewers that are opening breweries right now, paying top dollar for this equipment. We've bought in 3 breweries. The pub system that we had in the mall that was used from Hawaii. It was actually in Singapore. And then we bought the New World system that Rob from Premier Stainless now sells and represents. That system went to Highlands. They use it as a pilot system down in Nashville. And then this was the big one we got used. Really great opportunity. I tend to think that there's going to be some more used equipment down a couple years from now with all the resurgence of breweries and that. Not everyone's going to make it, so there's going to be some equipment.
Right.
So we opened here at this production brewery in 2005. There was 3 brewers, and all of our corporate office was here, and our business offices. Since then, now today, we rented the building next door, and I showed you that in another video. And this place is packed full. And our goal in 24 to 36 months is to open up a new production brewery with corporate office and definitely a tap house attached. And we'll upgrade our brew house to a 40-barrel brewery. It's time to kind of get it into all into one building instead of separated to. We haven't had to deal with that in the wintertime yet, but it's going to be quite a challenge running pallets in the snow. But our goal is to increase the retail presence of our brewery tours. We've been doing tours at 2 o'clock every day during the week here, and it's really picked up. We're so set back in the industrial park that I think it's important that we get some frontage, retail frontage out front on 25. We're still looking at a location, a couple of locations to see where we're going to be at. Taking our time, so we buy our piece of property and then develop it from there. We have 4 new brewers in the past couple of years. Barnabas, Peter, Kevin, Marty, Rusty, who came from Magnolia. We got Dan, and we have Alex, and John Clegg, who's been here for 13, 14 years, and Tom, who's been here for 13, 14 years. It's really about the people here. So I think as we grow, we have the right people in the places, in the brewery. And the brew pubs have awesome people. Our managers are fantastic, and our staff are awesome. So I think going forward, for us, the big focus is quality. Our quality program with regards to fighting oxygen at every level and getting our systems in place and our batch-to-batch consistency in order. And then fundamentally in sales is building great relationships with people, friends in the industry, growing with craft and building relationships. That's the only way that the craft beer market can be sustainable, because there's going to be beers from everywhere coming into Maine, New Hampshire, Vermont, Connecticut, Rhode Island.
Absolutely.
And if we don't build those relationships, you'll be just the flavor of the month. So it's important to do that. And with our salesman, Joe Moran, Ryan Carey and Jim Lemire. I mean, that's what our focus is: build relationships and get beers into people's hands.
Nice.
It's a tough business. It's a fun business, and we are committed to keeping it fun and doing the best we can with quality and making sure that the people in our company are as excited as we are.
Absolutely.
So hey, here's to Ben Moore, the active beer geek, for coming back several times to do some video and to accommodate Sebago in his schedule. So, cheers.